His Excellency, former President Thabo Mbeki, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, good morning, and all protocol observed. I want to also recognize some of the leadership of Absa Group who are here this morning. And maybe begin by saying exactly 32 years ago, nearly to the day, on the 18th of November 1993, the national media in South Africa captured a pivotal and monumental event, the signing of South Africa's interim constitution. It was a profound declaration of our collective journey towards democracy and economic freedom. That day, as leaders laid down their commitment to a united government and fundamental rights, they also set the stage for the first democratic elections. It was a beacon to guide us through uncharted waters, promising a future where every citizen would have a voice, both in the ballot box and in the market square. There are many similar stories like these that exist across the continent, our home and primary footprint of operation as an organization. Allow me, for the next few minutes, to share a perspective and brief remarks, not as a policy expert, but as a representative of a systemic institution deeply embedded in the fabric of society. And yes, we are a bank. The first one there on the left, Absa Bank. Banks are more than just financial intermediaries. They are systemic institutions that shape economies and communities. Our role is not confined to balance sheets. It extends to enabling inclusive growth. When we finance infrastructure, empower entrepreneurs, and support trade, we're not just moving capital. We are moving lives forward. Absa is here, Mr. President and friends, as a proud supporter of the Cape Town Conversation and proud partners to the Thabo Mbeki Foundation, very clear of our societal imperfections and acutely aware that the journey for us all to be consistent with the prescripts of that constitution I've just quoted and other strategic programs is far from over. Yet on the same vein, I can say that we are proud of the progress that this conversation and many others like these have made and continue to make on many fronts. This year's theme, renewal and rebuilding, shaping a just global order, is very deeply resonant for us. It urges us to reflect on the remarkable strides made in fostering an inclusive, equitable, and representative world with its rich diversity. The world is indeed changing rapidly. We've seen the economic headwinds, technological disruption, and geopolitical shifts that are redefining how we think about growth and resilience. For Africa, these shifts are not abstract, they are our lived reality. Renewal and rebuilding are never once-off ideals. They are a sequence of choices. What to keep, what to let go, what to accelerate, what and who to invite in. Ladies and gentlemen, to our observation, something important is taking shape. a more confident global south, a group of regions recognizing that shared demographic weight, natural endowments, and development ambitions create real agency. We see it in the assertiveness of regional institutions. We see it in the momentum behind South-South cooperation. We see it in the growing demand for reforms to global finance that reflect the world as it exists today. And the session we've just had on BRICS speaks directly to this. The esteemed panelists highlighted how current global shifts have created an opening for BRICS to play a more strategic role than at any point in its history. But they also reminded us that influence is not guaranteed. It depends on the clarity of purpose and whether the grouping can translate these shared interests into a coordinated action. Of course, we all know that Africa has a number of impediments and key threats in realizing this potential. Infrastructure gaps. I don't need to teach you about high cost of capital, regulatory instability, poor transport, energy, digital infrastructure that limit connectivity and productivity. Africa's borrowing costs that remain amongst the highest globally, discouraging long-term investment in industrialization, agriculture, and skills development. Inconsistent policies, weak governance, and corruption that create uncertainty for investors and hinder cross-border trade under the AFCFTA. And it raises an important question for us all. What role should an institution like ours, a bank, or financial services in general, play in this renewal or rebuilding that we are talking about? Why would a bank like ours have an interest in this conversation? Well, we believe that banks have an important role to play in this conversation of inclusive growth. When they fund projects, they support communities, direct investment into essential sectors, and they make sure that investments reach the people who need them. They help widen economic participation. Banks play an important role in financial inclusion, financial literacy, skills development that give individuals and small businesses the tools to enter and move through the economy, providing products and services that match people's needs is part of the same responsibility. Another important role is that banks are intricately connected to the communities they serve. Transformation is not an abstract concept for us. It is lived reality. Every loan, every investment, every innovation has a ripple effect on households, small businesses, and the entire region. Any development path has to consider people, financial viability, and the environment together, the triple P of people, profit, and planet. That means understanding how communities are affected, how investors think about long-term value, and how environmental conditions shape future risk. These are the imperatives that guide a transition which has to hold over time. But it's important to also mention that this is a symbiotic exercise. Mr. President, banks cannot thrive in a system that is stagnating or in an environment that is regressing. We need a system built to last, one that balances economic growth with social equity and environmental stewardship. That energy transition must be just and socially equitable, leaving no one behind. It is not just about the yield of today, but the harvest of tomorrow, because the chapters yet to be written depend on the choices that we make now. Absa is therefore working to realize this narrative by structuring social infrastructure project as a viable investment opportunity. Through innovative policy engagement, blended finance models, and risk-sharing mechanisms, our organization is enabling scalable investments into infrastructure that deliver both social impact and economic returns. And maybe allow me to blow our horn only just a little bit more. We have served as joint lead arranger for the new development bank's inaugural South African rand-denominated bond auction in August 2023. The new development bank raised 1.5 billion through that issuance to support infrastructure and sustainable development projects in South Africa. Thank you. At Absa, we are innovating to close the gap by structuring blended finance, leveraging risk-sharing mechanisms, and building funding value chains that link banks, development partners, and fintechs to improve SME access to working capital. The She Trades Commonwealth program, funded by UK International Development, has partnered with Absa, Kenya, and the International Trade Center to equip 10,000 Kenyan women entrepreneurs with skills and trade opportunities in 2021. In South Africa, Absa offers tailored support for SMEs, especially women and youth entrepreneurs, through initiatives like Absa She Thrives, emerging entrepreneur programs, mentorship, and enterprise development efforts that provide market access, training, networking, and sustainable business growth opportunities. In Angola, lastly, Absa is co-financing $325 million Longojo rare earths projects, which will support over 2,000 jobs and contribute to the global green energy transition. It is therefore important for me to mention that progress at this scale cannot happen alone. Public institutions set the direction, define priorities, and carry the mandate for the national development. And we want those public institutions strong, effective, and delivering. Private institutions bring capital, and in many ways, execution capability, and how the economy is functioning on the ground. When these roles move in the same direction, together, projects gain momentum and development becomes more coherent. The two are mutually reinforcing. This becomes even more important when we think about building Africa's own capital markets. Countries with stronger local markets gain more stability, more control over development choices, and they have more room to plan. Economic sovereignty rests on this capacity, and our collective renewal depends on it. What matters now is how we turn these positions into action. So as I close, renewal and rebuilding happens one brick at a time, through steady choices that accumulate into something impactful and durable. It requires an overarching goal that holds the work together and a commitment to build towards it with patience and intent. For the Global South, that goal is a system that reflects our realities, supports our development paths, and strengthens our ability to act with urgency. So, considering all of these developments, our call to action is very simple. Let's deepen collaboration. Let's share knowledge, like we are having in this conversation, and let's create solutions, co-create solutions that move Africa forward. Financial institutions like ours do have a responsibility, and dare I say, moral obligation to contribute to shaping Africa's future. With bold thinking, shared responsibility, and relentless focus and action on resilience and inclusion. And at Absa, we are committed, as our purpose says, to empower Africa's tomorrow together, one story at a time. Thank you.